Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
The Innovative Thinkers episode. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black entrepreneur experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and how would you like to get clarity and align your business with life, master your mindset, unblock limited beliefs, and implement strategies that will support you when life throws you a curveball? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you definitely want to stay tuned to our innovative thinker, CEO Linda M. Clay. She's a business and lifestyle strategist. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Frances. I'm so excited to be here.
It is my pleasure. Listen, I've been doing some research on you, and you have a pretty strong, extensive bio. So why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like them to know about you and your business?
Oh, sure. First, I think the most important thing for people to know is that I probably have been there and done that, which gives me a tremendous insight into working with my clients, because I've experienced so many different, kind of like knock your breath out, get on your knees and pull yourself back up and kind of have to reinvent yourself. I've had to do that several times. Started when I was a teenager and I was an unwed mother in the 60s, which was an absolute no-no at that time. And, continued throughout my life dealing with my daughter who was addicted to substances, to losing my husband before he turned 50. In my early years of marriage, my husband and I were definitely in that poverty mindset. We had no income and we had 2 little kids to feed. So I've kind of gone through so many different avenues of life and the challenges that it can throw at you. And I've taken all of that and created my business out of that.
Talk about that aha moment, Linda, when you knew that you were going to be successful.
That's interesting because if I look at it on the aspect of being in a business, in the corporate America section, I always knew that if I just persisted, and to be honest, Frances, part of this came back from being the stories I carried with me from being an unwed mother. That was a catalyst for my drive throughout my entire life. It made me constantly go after things, to prove to myself that I wasn't a bad person, that, I could be a success. I didn't have to look at that one circumstance in my life as being a bad person, because you were kind of labeled that way back then. And my biggest aha moment came when I was 64, and I woke up one day and I went, I don't even know who I am anymore, because I had raised 2 separate families. And so I did something crazy. I sold everything I owned, packed 2 suitcases, got a visa for Portugal, and I moved there for 5.5 months. And that process right there was like the catalyst that made me open my eyes to see that I had so much to offer and to enter into this life of coaching.
Why Portugal?
Interesting enough, I did a ton of research, and I based it on the fact that in a Facebook group, that group was the most supportive and the most encouraging and gave me the most information. And Portugal also has a very low crime rate. The people are well known to be very warm and friendly, and it's on the water, and I'm a water person. So that's really kind of what I did.
Talk about, Linda, you had alluded to at the beginning of the interview about being a single unwed mother.
Yes.
And let's fast forward, we're in 2019, and that is not the dialogue today. The stigma that happened in your generation being a single unwed mother, and today I don't know if you want to say it's empowering or it's just not looked upon.
Right.
How did that, being that single unwed mother, How did that define who you are or give you the strength or the empowerment today to say, I can do it? Nothing is impossible.
Well, that's a great question. And I should add in here, Francis, that I gave my child up for adoption. So, you had choices back in the 60s. And for my family, I was given choices, but the choice that I knew was really the choice I needed to make. Now, again, this goes into conditioning and how people are raised, was to give the child up for adoption, because it would have really been frowned on if I tried to be an actual single mother at 18 raising my child. And so that, in my generation, so much of what we did was a situation happened, so you face that situation and you move on. And so what's that shown me is that no matter what curveball life throws at you, you can actually, once you get through the grief process, once you get through the acceptance process, you actually can walk through that pain and then move on in your life, if that makes sense.
Right. So what I hear you saying is you took your pain and it propelled you to your passion.
Absolutely.
And you can do that.
Yeah. And I think the other part of it is that I've learned through life that any challenge that I've been given, and any time I've had to sit down and go, I've got to change myself, I've got to go in a redirection, I've got to kind of like wipe the slate clean and start again, even when it's hard, like during I call it my WTF year, which is the year that my husband died, I now can look back and go, wow, those were actual gifts that were handed to me. I didn't see it at the time, trust me. But now I know that they created the person I am today. So they gave me the inner strength. They gave me way more intuition into what people actually go through when they're grieving, when they're faced with too much stuff up in their head and they don't know what to do with it. And so I'm able to help them kind of sort things out.
Linda, thanks for that, for being so transparent and authentic, sharing some moments in your life that are so emotional, right? Losing your husband, giving birth to a baby, you gave the baby up for adoption. Thanks for being so authentic and sharing your journey. So talk to a younger Linda. What advice would you give to a younger Linda?
What advice would I give to a younger Linda? What I would give a younger Linda now is to just step into who you really are, be transparent, and stop wearing all the different masks that we learn to put on as we try to meet other people's expectations, or the expectation of being perfect. I think women are raised to be perfect, and I think that's the biggest falsehood out there, because you can't be perfect. You're perfect the way you're born, but you can't reach an expectation of perfection, because there really isn't a perfection. And so instead of reaching for something that is unattainable, that makes us feel less than we really are, is to just really embrace who we are and go with it, not hide it.
One of the things that you said, Linda, that's so profound is authenticity.
Oh, yeah.
Perfection. And I remember a couple of months ago being with a woman who was coming to the end of her life. Mm-hmm. And she actually has passed on since, by the airing of this, she's been deceased for a couple of months now. But I remember when she would just start crying and she says, I'm a bad girl. I'm a bad girl. And someone told her that, and it's constantly playing out at a point of her life when she should be not at that state. Linda, I want you to talk to that person in the audience. And when you talked about authenticity, about being perfect and hearing those voices in our head over and over again, right? In our day, or back in the day, it was you trying to be perfect for our parents or a teacher. Now people are trying to be perfect or mask this perfection in front of the camera for social media or trying to emulate superstars or these people that have like all of this money that you can't compete with, or bodies or whatever. Talk to that person out there.
You're right, Francis. I think there's way too much emphasis on, I'll take Instagram as an example, and this is to that listener out there. Instagram, there are people out there that are doing photo shoots to make these beautiful images, that these women are dressed in these flowy white outfits, and they're tall and they're thin. And what it does is similar to the advertising. When I was younger, in the 50s, everything was this model family. Everything was the model family. Parents slept in 2 beds, dad knew best. I mean, all these kinds of things. So we grew up in the 50s thinking of this nice, quiet, idyllic life, which is what social media does. This is the ideal life. I'm making 6 figures, and I did it in 6 months. Well, where's the truth behind that? Did it take you 3 years to get to that 6 months? You know what I'm saying? And so it's like this falsehood out there. My generation woke up in the 60s when John F. Kennedy got shot. It was like, wow, in your face. All of a sudden, what happened to this ideal world that we were raised to be in? And then all of a sudden, the president gets shot. And then, of course, the 60s were just a turmoil. I mean, we lost 3 wonderful people in a period of 5 years. And so when I work with clients and they come to me and they say, well, I'm doing something wrong because I'm not at that level. And I go, what do you mean? Well, because I read this post, and this post said, and I go, no, they're not telling you the full story. They're not telling you the guts that you had to put in to make your business go. They're not telling you the times that they cried because they wanted to give up. They're not sharing that with you. And that's that whole authentic, you need to be authentic. People actually want that. And in the conversations I've had lately, women really want that support. They want to know they're not alone, that it is a struggle, that everybody goes through those periods of, I just want to throw in the towel and give up. And so social media and the advertising and trying to compete with the Kardashians, that's a fake world out there. That's not the real world.
Linda, who is your ideal client?
Who is my ideal client? My ideal client is a woman that's approximately mid-30s, 38 and up, who, there's like 3 buckets, Francis. There's a woman that wakes up and she goes, wow, there has to be more to life than this, meaning the job or raising the kids or whatever, that there's something burning with them, but they don't know what it is. The second bucket would be they know they have all these ideas and they want to put them to work, but they don't know how. Or the person that has an idea, but doesn't know how to activate it. So it's really a woman that's ready to take that chance to find their passion so that they can create more impact, more money, just create a life that they actually truly want to live. Get outside that conditioned box that we've been raised in.
How would you best describe yourself, Linda? Entrepreneur, thought leader, or innovative thinker, and why?
Oh, wow. I'd say, I call myself, Francis, a jack of all trades because I've started businesses. I know how to start a business, so that would be the entrepreneurial part of me. I have tremendous insight into life and its challenges. So I consider myself a change maker. I mean, I'm of the 60 generation, I want to change the world. And I really am into empowerment of women. I really believe that we can't go back in time, that women have such strength and such intuition and such gifts that they need to be given to the world. So that would be the thought leader.
Linda, you said you want to change the world. What problem exists in the world today that you want to solve?
Oh my God, Francis, which one? I think there's a terrible inequity. I think that we have to make some major shifts. There's poverty everywhere. My oldest daughter is homeless, and it's a huge struggle. The more I learn about it, the more I understand that being homeless itself is something that needs to, the mindset that goes with that. There's nothing to help people get back into society. There's very little limited resources. That's something that, just in our country alone, we need to address. Why are so many people homeless? Why? Get to the root causes. I think that education, there's so many things. I could just go on and on and on.
You talked about women and wanting to empower women, and you talked about homelessness, being homeless, and problems in the world. And you talked about the inequalities that exist that touches on so many different cultures and genders within our culture. What advice, Linda, would you give to elevate the experience of the Black entrepreneur?
Well, that's a good question, Frances. Just in what I've seen, and this is just in general, but I think that you have to break the patterns that have been set. And there are so many wonderful examples of the Black entrepreneur that have broken those patterns, that don't settle for the conditioned box that we put the Black entrepreneur in, or the Black, people in. And if we can break that, we don't have to settle. And I think people settle, they just accept. And we don't need to accept. Everybody is talented. Everybody has gifts to offer. And so I just advise them to look at not people telling them that negative stuff that they tell them, but to look at the people that have made the changes. And those are the people they need to surround themselves with.
Absolutely. What's some advice, Linda, that you wish you had followed?
Wow. That's a good question. What advice do I wish I had followed? In all honesty, if I was to go back through my whole entire life, if that's what you're asking, I wish that I had listened and I had joined the Peace Corps when I was just getting out of high school.
And why is that?
Because I think that when I did that experience, went to Portugal, I found that, and this is just our country itself, we're pretty isolated, and we kind of live in this box, and we don't really see what goes on in the world. And I think that doing something like the Peace Corps would have helped my growth quicker, that I would have been able to see the world globally versus, just here in the States. And I just think travel itself is such an educational tool. I think everybody should travel. I think every student should go to another country for a year and live there so that they can see and bring home a different perspective.
And I agree with you 100%. I used to do placement of student abroad to the United States. And there's another lady that I know, and she's really big into traveling, and she takes her toddler and they travel a great deal. And I think that the lessons that you learn from traveling is just so valuable that it just teaches you different things. And like you said, it opens up your lens to see the world and not just your little me, my four, and no more.
Well, and I think that, to that point, part of what goes on in the world today, and not just here, but everywhere, is this fear. And the fear comes from the unknown. Fear always comes from the unknown. And so the more we learn about different cultures, the more we learn about different people, different countries, different policies, all that breaks away that fear. When people come to me and they say, I'm afraid, I'm going, well, what's triggering the fear? If you can figure out why you're afraid, what's causing that, you can then address it. And I think with the world situation, we have to get, and this is just a global comment, but we have to get past that fear of, those people do this, and so that makes them different, so I'm afraid. Well, then understand what they do, learn what they do, and how they practice, and how they live. And then that takes away the fear.
Linda, is there a social cause connected to your business or your brand?
Not yet, but there will be. That's on my list. There's so many, I'm not sure which one to choose.
Absolutely.
There's a Pencils for Promise, I think, that I think is a great cause. There's the water the Clean Water Initiative, which is so important. I want to get a copy of Melinda Gates's book because there's some really great insight in there that they're doing in Africa. I mean, it's just amazing the things out there that are helping the world that aren't talked about enough, I think.
Absolutely, and you're correct. The Gates Foundation is doing an amazing work abroad and within communities in the United States, so we definitely applaud them. Linda, if someone wrote an autobiography about you, what would the title be?
Ooh, that's a question. Badass Man. That's what it would be.
And why is that?
Because I'm not, I don't come across as the image of the typical grandma. And I work really hard at continuing to learn, continuing to expand myself, to continue to grow. I refuse to retire. I'm going to be 69 this year. And I've started getting involved in speaking in Women of Impact conference, speaking there, telling my story, sharing my little nuggets of wisdom. Yeah, so it'd be Badass Man. I like that.
Give us 3 truths that you've learned in life or business so far.
3 truths that I've learned. It's never as bad as it seems. Everything always works out the way it should. And life is to be embraced.
Who are your top 2 influencers in your life, and what lessons did they teach you, Linda?
I would say Jackie Kennedy is one. The fact that she went through such turmoil in her life, losing the president and seeing it and all that, yet she held herself together with such grace. She, despite the wealth that she had, she got the job at the publishing company and did a tremendous job there. She kept the press away from her kids. I mean, she was really, really strong. I think stronger than people realize. And then I'd have to say my mom, because my father was an alcoholic, and so my mom played kind of a dual role. And on top of that, when she was 50, she had to go to work for the first time in her life. And she took her housewife work, created a resume based on that, and got an executive job with an insurance company because she kept her nursing license, in effect her entire life. And I was just totally blown away that she could compile this resume, never having done it, and walk in, interview, and get this job. It was fantastic.
That's a great story. What is a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
Meditation in the morning and my gratitude journal that I do. Those 2 things.
So what are you grateful for right now?
Oh, do you want the whole list? I'm grateful for being alive. Despite everything that we hear, really, when you look at it, there's no better time to be alive. I'm grateful for being able to contribute to the world. I'm grateful for my family, my kids, my grandkids, the sun when it comes out. I mean, I could go on and on and on.
We can learn from successful entrepreneurs, people, brands. Tell us a brand or business that is dominating that you admire and why.
I would say I admire Kimra Luna tremendously. She is a young entrepreneur who has really made her mark. She has a story like so many of us do, and she is open, she's honest, and she talks about it all the time. And she admits when she struggled, and yet she just keeps going after it, and she's doing phenomenal.
Linda, what is a technology tool or technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your business day to day?
I've got 3 of them that I really, really like. Content Studio is what I use for most of my social media. You can post to Pinterest, you can post to Instagram, you can do all those things in one platform. Dubsado, because you can create forms, invoicing, You can set your appointments through there. And the last one is Gen M, which is a fantastic platform for those beginning entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of money to outsource. You can hire marketing. You can become a member, and then you get an intern for 3 months for up to 10 hours. It's fantastic. 10 hours a week, so 40 hours a month. That's awesome.
Let's switch gears.
Sure.
Let's talk about risk and or failure. What is the worst moment in business or life, and what was the takeaway?
I heard you ask this question on a couple of the podcasts I was listening to, and it's like, what was the worst failure? And probably the one that could come to mind was when I worked for corporate America, and I took a store manager job in a city that I didn't want to move to. And it turned out it was a very difficult store to run. I ended up being put in that position of having to make a decision of I quit or they're going to fire me. And I chose to quit. And so first, of course, that was like a huge failure. Like I couldn't make it happen. I couldn't make it, work. But then I realized that the lessons I learned from that experience have only helped me further in life. And I actually ended up getting the best career after that. And so it was like a door. It was like a training ground to lead me to a better opportunity.
What's working well for you now in business?
Being authentic and transparent, the two keys, I think.
Linda, one of the questions a lot of people have about going into business is about how do you finance your business? So talk to us about that piece. How did you finance your business? You mentioned you've started several businesses, so talk about that piece.
Well, so every business I started, I was an escrow signing agent, but that's, kind of like a brick and mortar. Well, it's not really brick and mortar, but you drive around in your car. Didn't cost anything really other than probably under $1,000 to get the printer, to get the license and that. So that was low expense. The first business online that I did was a virtual assistant business consultancy. Now, I paid for training for that, but you don't have to. You don't have to pay for a course. And so the cost really was minimal. It was like, getting a computer, setting up the programs you need, where so many are free now that you don't have to worry about it. So a virtual assistant itself is doing everything through the computer. And again, minimal expenses. And my coaching business really was well under $500 because it really was just the tools that I use, and that was the expense.
Talk about your legacy. When it's all said and done, Linda, how do you want to be remembered?
How do I want to be remembered? As a loving mom, grandma, or Nan, they call me Nan. That's somebody that cared enough about the world to start a chain reaction of healing.
What, if anything, would make you stop?
Well, that's a good question. My first response is nothing will make me stop. I mean, I've been, it's not easy doing this. It's not, it's been a huge learning experience, but I have a message and I have a purpose, and so I can't see anything making me stop except for if my health deteriorated and I couldn't do it.
So what has been that biggest learning curve for you?
The biggest learning curve was just to show up as myself. And I think that's the biggest learning curve for any entrepreneur online, is to stop comparing themselves to others, stop trying to do what the gurus tell them to do, only do what works for them, and just to really embrace who they are and show up that way.
Linda, what do you do when you hit a bump in the road? How do you adjust and reset?
I step back and I look at what the bump is and look at what I had done to, because I'm a great believer that we create our own reality. And so then I look at what can I do differently? What do I need to change? What do I need to tweak? I have a stronger growth mindset. So when things don't quite work out the way I want them to, then I know I have to evaluate and I have to make the changes. and nobody else does.
What milestone do you want to accomplish for your business over the next couple of years?
Good question. I actually want to, in the process of creating workshops, to bring to women kind of like a dream building workshop, Francis, where we can go over their dreams they've hidden away. We can talk about the maps they need to take off and really step into who they are, kind of a women's inner circle. And I also want to create retreats and keep getting involved in conferences and speaking in front of women.
If you had to do it all over again, would you do the same business and industry?
Yes.
And why?
I love it. I absolutely love helping women take all the tiny puzzle pieces and put them all together so that they walk away going, wow, I now have what I want in my life. That's like amazing.
And what is coaching as a strategic business coach? What has that done for your life and for you as a person?
It's changed me. It's totally changed me. You know, I had somebody, I asked a question in my Facebook group, and somebody responded that to the question, and the question was like, what's somebody that your peer or whatever who could have advice for you or something like that? And the person said, oh, I only look to people above me. And it's like, you know, that's interesting. And I took that away and I thought about it. And I'm going, I learn something from my clients every day. I learn something from people that are on the same level as me, and I learn something from the people above me. And I think that's part of coaching, is that not only are you helping and supporting people in their journey, but they also helping and supporting you in your journey, because we're also unique. So you can take little nuggets away from them and use them down the road for somebody else. That makes sense.
It does. And I think that over the years, that if I had to say something that was really insightful for me, is I believe we can learn from everyone, even from a drunk, if it's what not to do.
Right.
And I think when you open up and you are open to receive the gift that a person has, and what is the value, why were they put on this earth? Because everyone, like you said, everyone has value, and it's so much we can learn from each other if we stop being so close-minded and critical and just see that it's really no difference. What brings us together is we're all human beings.
Yep.
And we hopefully want the best,
right,
from of people, and to give of our best to others. And I think that would make the world so much better if we can come from a position of love instead of being judgmental.
Oh, totally. Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely.
What are you reading right now, Linda?
What am I reading right now? I'm actually in the process of reading just a novel. But, you know, sometimes I find that I just have to take a break. I think the book I'm reading right now is called Paris Architect, and I'm fascinated with Paris, so it helps me kind of relax. But I thought about that question because I heard it on the other podcast, and I was going, wow, you know, there's so many fantastic books out there right now. I mean, there's Melinda Gates' book, there's, of course, Michelle Obama's book, and I saw her on Full Sunday and was crying the whole time. And there's one I read a snippet of called Essentialism, and it grabbed me right away because the gentleman was talking about, the author was talking about how you are so into doing non-essential tasks, filling our day with all these non-essential things, that we're not paying attention to what is essential in our life. And I went, man, he hit the nail on the head. Because that is, you know, that goes back to our conversation about social media and Instagram and all this falsehood out there. It's not essential. What's essential is to have two people like we are doing right now, having a conversation and getting to know each other.
Absolutely. And I think that you are so right. And I had a conversation prior to us jumping on a call. And I was saying, we are having so many fake conversations now.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
people don't now know how they're actually afraid to be authentically themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living in a time where back in the day, in the 50s or 60s, women could not express who they were.
Right.
And so they had to pretend to be Leave It to Beaver's mom or, Father's Knows Best or whomever. And so today, what's happening because of, I don't know what has happened in society, but because it's so much about fake and falsehood and Hollywood, and not blaming it all on Hollywood, but just the change of technology and everything,
Mm-hmm.
people are masking. And I go out to dinner with individuals, and it was like 5 of us at a table. And I am so grateful that I am not attached to my cell phone. Like my cell phone, my smartphone, whatever you call it, I am not addicted to, or it doesn't control me. So when I go to visit my 91-year-old mother, the only reason I bring my smartphone or cell phone into the house is to update her with the great grandchildren and the grandchildren. That's the only reason. But I don't have it. I put it on mute. I'm going to focus on her. And when I go out and I watch people, and we are so afraid to communicate and to talk, we don't know how to talk, that everyone is looking down at their phone. It's so phony because they're not running a multi-billion-dollar industry that they need to be attached to their phone all the time. We're just afraid to communicate with each other, which is a real travesty, because so many people are hurting because of not being able to be authentically who they are.
Right. And that was, one of the things that I was on being interviewed for a couple podcasts a couple weeks ago. And then I was talking to other women, and they were talking about the need to have in-person events, the need to bring women together in person, just for that reason that you're talking about, because there's no connection. The internet is a tool. It's not meant to replace one-on-one contact with human beings. And I don't know if you caught Brene Brown's show, or not show, it's a talk on Netflix, but she is right on. People aren't connecting, and that's something that's a basic need of being human, is to have a connection with another person.
Right.
And we've been sidetracked, totally sidetracked.
Tell us a song title that would best describe you or your brand.
Oh my. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's say Fireworks. I like that song.
Who's the author?
Katy Perry. Katy Perry is a singer.
Yeah, it's an interesting story about Katy Perry. She was actually raised in Las Vegas, and her parents are evangelical pastors, and she used to attend our church way back in the day. I don't know her personally, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's a pretty neat story.
That is a neat story.
Talk to the person in the audience. They want to start a business, but they're fearful. What advice would you give them?
Do it anyway. But to break it down, so, I brought this up earlier, when we have fears in our head, we have our little chitty-chatty voices, I like to call them, and they kind of like create even a stronger environment of fear. But fear comes because it's unknown. So when you can look at your fear and you ask yourself, what am I afraid of? If you can pinpoint what you're afraid of, then you can take that and you can look at it going, okay, so what if the business fails? That's what I'm afraid of. And then you can go, but what if it's a success? Or what do I need to put in place and understand so my business doesn't fail? That type of thing, if you really address it. But fear is it's because it's unknown. We don't know the end result. So we start asking ourselves or self-sabotaging ourselves because we're shaking up our little world a little bit.
Linda, what is the one impact you want this interview to give to our audience?
That they can do it. They can create any kind of life that they want. They can have what they want. They can make a difference if they want. It's all a choice. It's what they decide to do.
If you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you would ask yourself? I'd like you to ask the question and answer the question.
Wow. That's a tough one. Probably what my why is. And my why basically really is that I want women to know that they can be who they want to be and stand in that really firm, and that they are worth so much more than they think they are. And that really comes from when my mom was dying from the cancer that she had. She had married a second time, and that husband was verbally abusive to her. And so my sister and I asked her, why? Why did she marry somebody like that? And she looked at us and she said, because that's what I felt it was worth. And so I want women to know they are worth so much more than settling for something like that. They don't need to.
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
We come to the part of our interview, it's called Fun Facts Lightning Round, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'd like you to give us very quick answers. If there's something that you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
I am so ready.
Linda, what was your first job?
Babysitter for 35 cents an hour.
If you could acquire an instant skill, what would it be?
Instant skill. Learn how to dance.
I love to dance. Who is someone you really admire?
Michelle Obama.
What is your favorite movie?
Ooh, my favorite movie, Beaches.
What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Bananas.
Hit the treadmill or hit the couch?
Hit the couch, I should be hitting the treadmill.
Linda, thank you so much. But before we conclude the interview, why don't you share with our audience the best way that they can connect with you? Feel free to give them your social media handles and any information for them to connect with you and your business.
Sure. My website is just lindamclay.com. Facebook is Linda M. Clay Biz. I have a group, Map It Life and Business. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn as Linda M. Clay. And I have a free gift for your audience, and they can get it at lindamclay.com gifts. Hashtag gifts, not hashtag, but / gifts. And there's also on the website, there's a contact form they can fill out. But yeah, I think that's every place they can find me.
Thank you. And what I'll do, Linda, is include in the show notes that gift. So if in fact it's a expiration date, we'll put that in there.
Yeah, no expiration date. One of them is a inner wisdom meditation to help them kind of like figure out what it is that they actually want, because so many of us don't really know what we want ourselves. And the other one is a mini ebook that helps them kind of schedule their time better.
Thank you so much, Linda. That's a wrap.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.